Yo, what it do, 2K fans? It's your boy JuKING the Boss, and welcome to the NBA 2K Idea Lab. So the concept behind Idea Lab is to look at one particular feature in the NBA 2K franchise and find a way that I feel it could be better than it already is or better than it ever was. And so the first feature we're going to look at is Shot Mechanics 2.0. So every year, the 2K community spends a lot of time going through the jump shots, trying to find the perfect jump shot for their my player. And then at one point, somebody's going to find the jump shot that has the biggest green window or the best timing. And then all of a sudden, most of the people start using it, mainly because everybody wants to hit their shots. Now, I have no personal qualm, no personal problem with this. But to me, I always felt that it did reduce the skill required to pull off a shot in any and all situations. So before we can discuss how to fix that, I first want to look at the current setup of it. So in 2K, each shot has a green window, and that green window differs from base to base. So learning the jump shot is all about putting in the work, mastering the base speed and the timing, and then of course dealing with the latency. So this format is good, and I don't have too many problems with it, but it's not seen a major overhaul in forever. Now, it's simple enough for casual players who just want to pick up and, shoot jumpers and everything. And, if they're playing just my career, they really don't want too heavy of a challenge. And there's no problem with that. But what about the more competitive players, the players who truly want to find a gap in skill level on the sticks? Now, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, and so this is what I've come up with, the Shot Mechanics 2.0. So the first step to this would be to remove the perfect release and instead break the release base down into 3 release points: your open release, your early release, and your late release. Now, each release will be able to have its own green window, and that green window will be based upon the amount of defense put on the person. But also, each green window is in a different location based on that defense as well. So we're going to look at how different release windows and these different release points, I'm going to break it all down for you, and I'm going to have a discussion with you. I want you to give me feedback on whether you think this is a good idea. If you got something to add on top of it, let me know down in the comments below. But let's jump into how we can really, truly create a skills gap just with the shot mechanics. All right, so first let's take a look at the open release point. Now, the open release point won't change at all, and it's because the open release is what the game is kind of based off of now. Now, what I mean by that is when you're wide open, your jump shot would need to be released at the top of your shot, okay, giving you the best green window and the best margin for error. Now, open would give you the same point of reference, but the margin of error would just be slightly lower, just slightly lower. Okay, so let's give you an example. If this is my shot meter right here, this is my green window. Now, this green window means that I can release it anywhere in this area, whether it's right before it hit the top or right after it hit the top. I get that margin of error of releasing it not slightly early or slightly late. I get that margin of error when I release to be beneficial. That's for open shot. Now, some people look at it and say, well, that's kind of, rewarding people for not releasing on time. And no, not really. Just hear me out when I get to the other releases. But that's my window. Now, remember that window, because that's going to be the mark. That's going to be the point of reference for my early releases and my late releases. So open releases wouldn't change at all. All right, so now let's take a look at the early contest. That's when the defender reacts early or almost on time and as you start your shooting motion. So the green window should not just shrink. Its location should also change to a later release. And I want you to think about it like when Kobe was shooting over defenders back in the day, or even if you look at something like when AD made that buzzer beater 3-pointer over KD when KD was still in OKC. KD reaction was on time. He jumped out there on time, but AD released it a little bit later to make sure that the shot couldn't get blocked, and he hit that money. And so I look at it like that. Now, here's my example. Remember my point of reference for the open release. So let's say, for instance, this is your release meter. Now, this is your open release for your early contest. When a person gets in your face, I believe that you need to be able to release it later. So you shouldn't be releasing at the top of your shot, but once it's coming back down. And some people look at it and say that that's kind of flawed. It isn't, because it's going to work the other way around for late contests. But if you're releasing it at when the shot's coming back down, your window should also be smaller. This should be your smallest release window, because this would be for your heavy contested shots and your smothered shots, and that's why the location should change to a later release. It shouldn't be, oh, you can release this shot at the top of the shot every single time and hit it. I mean, have you ever noticed that in 2K now, a lot of times when you pull the trigger, if you keep holding the trigger, you won't release. You used to, well, no, you'll release it before your feet touch the ground. And it used to not be like that. Like, usually if you were still holding the shot when you was coming down, they called you a traveling. And so that happens less often now than it used to. So having that early contest, which means the defender is in your face, he comes at you nearly on time or just a little bit early, then that means that you should be releasing your shot later. And like I said, you can look at a Kobe shooting clip, or you can look at that AD buzzer beater when they played OKC when KD still had him, when KD was still there, and you'll see that was a contested shot, and it was and in 2K that'd be considered a heavily contested shot. All right, so now we look at the late contest. So this one, if a defender is reacting late to your shot, the size of the green window should be between an open and an early contested shot. So it should not be as big as the open shot, but it shouldn't be as little as a heavily contested shot. And then the location of the window itself should also be earlier than a spot up open jumper. So think about the difference between when Steph Curry spots up versus when a defender is closing out off of one of those wraparounds or one of those screens or one of those catch and shoots. Now, some people say that, well, that's just a leaning shot and that's just this kind of shot. But jump shots should really be dependent on the amount of defense that's being played, as well as the release of your shot. So it shouldn't be that there's one green window, because it punishes defenders when they play great defense and you hit that one green window, because all you got to do is learn that one green window. Anybody who plays fighting games will be able to tell you that it's not about learning one combo. If you truly want to be great, it's about learning how to counter other people's moves as well. You got to be able to read and react to your opponent just as well as you can put moves and string moves together. Now, sometimes you can be as great as you want to be and just beat the brakes off your opponent. But in 2K, it's about being able to read and react. So I believe that for a late contest, you look at it like I said, when Steph Curry pulls a spot up jumper, you can look at clips like that and then also look at a jumper that he pulls off a screen, off a catch and shoot situation. It's a quicker release because he releases that shot a little earlier. Even if it's only just a tad bit earlier, it's still a little earlier. So the green window should change in size compared to the open, and it should not be as small as the early contest, so a smothered shot, but it also shouldn't be in the same place as an open shot, and it shouldn't be in the same place as an early contest. So here's my example. Here's the open shot right here. Well, here's the late contested shot, and here's your green window. So your open contested shot, green window. All right, late contested shot, green window. And if you notice that it and the early contest might be in the same areas, but the difference between them is that because the earliest contest is for smothered and the late contest is for last second defense, then that means releasing your shot earlier for late contest and releasing your shot later for earlier contests. I truly believe that little things like this could improve the shot mechanics, and I want to hear what you think could add to that. So like I said, I'm all about giving you the foundation of what goes on through my mind, and then I want to hear more from you as opposed to how to build upon it and make it better. All right, so that's my idea behind the whole shot mechanics 2.0. I think that there is a time to change the way shot stick is done, the way the mechanics are done, the way timing is done. And, you know, we haven't seen this come in a long time. And so to answer Mike Wang's tweet that he hit up on Twitter when he asked between 0 and 100, on a scale of 0 to 100, at what point should, green releases be locked out? I really believe there's no point where a green release should be locked out. I just believe that as the defensive level goes up, then the window should shrink. And not only should the window shrink, but it should also be in different places, because You look at anybody shoot and you'll see the difference between them shooting a contested shot and them shooting a spot of open shot, and the different levels of contest. If you could really truly look up any player who you like to watch shoot and see the different levels of contest for their shots, if you slow it down enough, you'll see a slight difference. But even at fast speeds, you can notice that some people release earlier when a defender closes out. Some people release later when a defender closes out. It's really all boiled down to creating it's skill behind your shot. So that's my concept. That's my idea. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you. Do you like it? Whether or not you can build upon it. If you got a concept that you can add on top of that, let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to spark up the conversation, and stick around for more NBA 2K Idea Labs, because I got quite a few different things that I want to spend a video on each one of them and just focusing on that. Some of them be longer, some of them be shorter, but I'm going to try to keep it within a good time frame so you don't have to be stuck looking or listening for too long. It's your boy JuKING the Boss, and I'm going to catch y'all guys on the next one. I'm out.